When Megan and Jake found the old house on Ashwood Drive, it seemed too good to be true. A beautiful fixer-upper at a bargain price. The neighborhood was quiet, if a little worn, and the house had the kind of charm that made them dream of summer barbecues and cozy winters by the fireplace. Sure, they'd heard the stories, the spooky tales of missing persons and the old recluse who had lived there, but that was years ago, and the price was right. They moved in during the early spring. The house had been empty for so long that it had a faint, musty smell, which they attributed to old pipes and stale air. Megan made plans to strip the wallpaper, and Jake focused on the backyard, dreaming of a garden and maybe a hammock. But as summer rolled in, bringing unusually heavy and persistent rains with it, the house began to change. The musty smell grew stronger, turning sour and metallic, seeping into their clothes and clinging to the walls. Jake insisted it was just the old plumbing acting up, but Megan wasn't so sure. At night, she heard voices, soft whispers that seemed to come from the walls themselves. And then there were the shadows, dark, fleeting figures that danced in her peripheral vision. One evening, after a particularly heavy downpour, the smell became unbearable. It was as if the entire house had been swallowed by ripe decay. Megan couldn't take it anymore and insisted they call a septic company to inspect the system. The crew arrived the next day, grumbling about the rain as they set up their equipment. Hours passed, and Jake and Megan watched from the kitchen window as the workers dug deeper into the yard. The foreman finally approached them, his face pale and his hands shaking. "You need to come see this," he said, voice tight. In the pit they'd dug, the earth was thick with mud and something else, something that made Megan gag the moment she saw it. Bones, hundreds of them, mixed with the rehydrated remains of bodies that had been mummified in the dry earth, only to rot now that the rains had disturbed their rest. They stood in horror as the workers unearthed more and more, a grisly mass of human remains tangled with roots and soaked in the foul-smelling mud. Megan couldn't move, her mind numb with shock. All the whispers, the shadows, everything made sense now. The house had been hiding a terrible secret, buried just beneath their feet. The police were called, and the investigation confirmed their worst fears. The reclusive man who had lived there had been responsible for the disappearances, burying his victims in the yard, where the earth had preserved them until now. The rains had brought the horrors back to the surface, releasing the trapped souls to haunt the house once more. Megan and Jake fled that night, leaving everything behind. The house on Ashwood Drive still stands, but no one dares to live there. The smell of decay lingers, and so do the shadows that still move in the corners, whispering their mournful tales to anyone who dares to listen.